Whether one makes contact with Aldous Huxley through his writing or in personal conversation, the impression that comes almost immediately is that of a uniquely versatile, omnivorous intellect, constantly searching and probing with a clean, cold incisiveness. He has been a Western writer who, even as he looked at life with an Eastern perspective, measured it against the backdrop of contemporary science.
I'm intrigued with the dichotomy. Is this also a dichotomy between science on the one hand and poetry or religion on the other? Is it that manner of encompassment that's involved?
In a sense, yes. I mean, the business of the man of letters, it seems to me, and the poet specifically, has been, I suppose, with man's more strictly private experiences, and also with the rendering of the manifold nature of man's experience. I mean, let us consider the question of scientific language and literary language. The essence of good scientific language is that one word shall stand only for one thing. There has to be a sort of one-to-one relationship between the given word and the given event or thing that's being talked about. In regard to literature, the important thing, I think, is to, first of all, to be able to, so to say, express the inexpressible, and secondly, to express the multiple meanings which every event has for a human being. I mean, a human being, as I say, is a multiple amphibian living in many ways at once, and any good work of literature inevitably has to express these multiple meanings. We're living in a world of sort of what may be called chronic revolution, chronic upheaval, and unless we break out of the culture which imprisons us within a world of nationalism and militarism, given the hydrogen bomb, we're obviously in imminent danger. And also, given this kind of culture which causes us to spend an enormous proportion of our resources on the armament race, we are not going to be able to solve the ecological problem of man upon the earth. We are not going to be able to solve the problem of a species which is increasing at the rate of 50 millions per annum on a limited environment. I mean, this is going to require all our goodwill and all our intelligence and all our knowledge. And if we spend a great deal of our energies on something else, we're not going to be able to solve the problem. Moreover, I think that if we look at this problem, we may get away from the perfectly insoluble problems of power politics onto the soluble, possibly soluble problems of ecology. I mean, I think that it's high time that we started thinking not merely in terms of politics and ideology, but in terms of biology and the relationship of man to his environment. And only in this way, by shifting the attention from what cannot be solved, which is the clash of power, but to what perhaps can be solved, which is the future of humanity upon this planet, shall we be able to escape from this frightful impasse in regard to power politics which we face at this moment.
This suggests, first, possibly a rather widespread series of techniques that should be embraced by the culture and become institutionalized to provide this. I'm at a loss of knowing what this might mean, though, or what form it might take.
Well, it certainly can't take exactly the same form which is taken in primitive and earlier civilizations.
The possibility is attractive, though.
But I think there are many things that we can do. I mean, I can't go into this moment, but there seems to me there are therapeutic methods. In fact, I've seen them practiced. I happen to have seen them at a very close range, because my wife happens to be a psychotherapist and makes use of some of these procedures, and they work, and they correspond very closely to what one sees in the anthropological and historical literature of the past, on a much larger scale, of course. I think these things do work, and I think without any question it doesn't pass the wit of man to see how these methods could be applied on a fairly large scale in education on every level, from the kindergarten to the PhD.
There are two indispensable things: intelligence and goodwill. Intelligence without goodwill is apt to be inhuman, and goodwill without intelligence is impotent. The two must go together. Such was the way that one man in the 20th century came to view his universe. This man, Aldous Huxley.